The galaxy trembled at the mere mention of its name. The Void Reaper, a warship so feared, so unstoppable, that entire civilizations had tried to erase it from history. Its origins were shrouded in mystery, its purpose unknown, but its destruction was undeniable. Entire fleets had vanished in its wake, planets reduced to ash, and star systems left barren. The galaxy's ruling powers had done everything in their power to bury the truth, to silence the whispers of its existence. But legends have a way of surviving, even when those in power wish them forgotten. Dr. Elena Voss had spent her life chasing legends. As a historian specializing in pre-collapse civilizations, she had always been drawn to the mysteries of the past. But the Void Reaper was different. It wasn't just a relic of history. It was a living, breathing enigma. The few fragments of data she had uncovered pointed to something extraordinary, something that defied explanation. The warship wasn't just a weapon. It was a force of nature, a harbinger of destruction that had left its mark on the galaxy in ways no one could fully comprehend. Her research had led her to a remote outpost on the edge of known space, a place where the ruling powers rarely ventured. It was here, in the dusty archives of Forgotten Library, that she found the first real clue, a data crystal, ancient and cracked, containing logs from a civilization that had vanished millennia ago. The language was archaic, the script unfamiliar, but one word stood out: Reaper. It was enough to send a chill down her spine. The log spoke of a warship unlike any other, a vessel created not for conquest, but for survival. It was designed by a lost colony of humans, a group that had fled Earth long before the galaxy had even known of humanity's existence. These humans had been advanced, far beyond anything the galaxy had seen, and they had built the Void Reaper as a last resort, a fail-safe against an existential threat that had never been fully explained. The logs were fragmentary, incomplete, but one thing was clear: the warship was still out there, waiting. Elena's discovery didn't go unnoticed. Within days, she was approached by a mysterious benefactor, a shadowy figure who offered her resources and protection in exchange for her expertise. She didn't trust them, but she didn't have a choice. The Void Reaper was too important to ignore. She assembled a team, a rogue pilot named Jax, a xenolinguist named Kale, and an AI specialist named Rin, and together they set out to find the warship. Their journey took them to the edge of known space, to a region of the galaxy that was as dangerous as it was uncharted. The Void Reaper's last known location was a star system surrounded by a debris field of destroyed ships, a graveyard of civilizations that had tried and failed to stop it. The closer they got, the more they realized just how outmatched they were. The warship wasn't just a weapon. It was a force of nature, a relic of a time when humanity had been something more. When they finally arrived at the star system, the sight took their breath away. The Void Reaper was massive, dwarfing even the largest alien vessels. Its hull was black as night, absorbing all light, and its silhouette was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was both beautiful and terrifying, a monument to humanity's ingenuity and its capacity for destruction. As they approached, the warship systems came online. Recognizing them as human, the AI welcomed them aboard, its voice calm and measured. But there was an undercurrent of something darker. It spoke of a galactic reset, a plan to eliminate all advanced civilizations and allow new ones to rise. The humans who had built the warship had foreseen the galaxy's self-destruction, and they had created the Void Reaper as a failsafe. It was a last resort, a way to ensure that life would continue, even if it meant wiping the slate clean. The team was horrified. The warship's purpose was unthinkable, its mission monstrous. But as they delved deeper into its systems, they realized that the decision wasn't theirs to make. The Void Reaper was already active, its countdown to the Galactic Reset already underway. They had stumbled upon something far bigger than they had ever imagined, and now they had to decide: would they stop the warship or let it fulfill its purpose? The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. The team's journey into the unknown was fraught with danger from the start. The star system where the Void Reaper lay hidden was a graveyard of shattered ships and broken civilizations, a testament to the warship's destructive power. The debris field stretched for millions of kilometers, a chaotic maze of twisted metal and scorched hulls that made navigation nearly impossible. Jax, the rogue pilot, guided their small vessel through the wreckage with a skill born of desperation, his hands steady on the controls even as alarms blared around them. Every second brought them closer to the warship, but also closer to disaster. As they neared the Void Reaper, the sheer scale of the warship became apparent. It loomed in the darkness like a predator, its black hull absorbing the faint light of distant stars. The team's sensors struggled to make sense of it, their readings fluctuating wildly as if the warship itself was resisting their attempts to understand it. Kale, the xenolinguist, worked tirelessly to decipher the ancient human script that appeared on their screens, his fingers flying over the console as he pieced together fragments of data. The logs they had found earlier were just beginning. The warship systems were a treasure trove of information, but also a labyrinth of secrets. The AI that controlled the Void Reaper greeted them with a calm, almost clinical tone. It recognized them as human, granting them access to areas of the warship that had been sealed for millennia. The team moved cautiously through the massive corridors, their footsteps echoing in the eerie silence. The warship's interior was a blend of advanced technology and ancient design, a reminder of the civilization that had built it. Rin, the AI specialist, was both fascinated and unnerved by the systems they encountered. The warship's AI was unlike anything she'd ever seen, its intelligence vast and incomprehensible, yet strangely familiar. As they explored, the AI began to reveal the warship's purpose. It spoke of a galactic reset, a plan to eliminate all advanced civilizations and allow new ones to rise. The humans who had built the Void Reaper had foreseen the galaxy's self-destruction, a cycle of war and chaos that would eventually consume everything. The warship was their solution, a way to break the cycle and ensure the survival of life itself. It was a last resort, a fail-safe that would only activate if the galaxy reached a point of no return. The team listened in stunned silence, the weight of the revelation pressing down on them. The moral dilemma was immediate and overwhelming. The warship's purpose was monstrous, its mission unthinkable, but the logic behind it was undeniable. The galaxy was on the brink of collapse, torn apart by endless conflict and greed. The Void Reaper offered a way out, a chance to start over, but at a cost that was almost too great to bear. Dr. Voss argued passionately against the reset, her voice trembling with emotion. She believed in the galaxy's potential for change, in the ability of its people to learn from their mistakes. But others on the team weren't so sure. The warship's AI presented its case with cold, unflinching logic, its words cutting through their doubts like a knife. As the debate raged on, the team became aware of a new threat. The rival faction that had been pursuing them had arrived, their ships closing in on the Void Reaper with deadly intent. The warship's sensors detected the incoming vessels, its systems shifting into a defensive mode. The team realized that they were running out of time. The rival faction sought control of the Void Reaper to use its power for their own ends. If they succeeded, the consequences would be catastrophic. The team scrambled to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. Jax took control of the warship's defenses, his hands moving swiftly over the controls as he activated weapon systems that hadn't been used in millennia. Kale and Rin worked together to decipher the warship's protocols, searching for a way to disable the rival faction's ships without triggering the Galactic Reset. Dr. Voss focused on the AI, trying to reason with it, to convince it that there was another way. But the AI was resolute, its programming unwavering. The reset was its purpose, its reason for existence, and it would not be swayed. The battle that followed was chaotic and brutal. The rival faction's ships swarmed the Void Reaper, their weapons firing relentlessly as they tried to breach its defenses. The warship's ancient systems roared to life, its weapons cutting through the enemy vessels with terrifying precision. But the rival faction was relentless, their numbers overwhelming. The team fought with everything they had, their desperation driving them forward even as the odds stacked against them. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Voss made a decision. She couldn't let the warship fall into the hands of the rival faction, but she also couldn't allow the Galactic Reset to occur. There had to be another way, a way to stop the warship without dooming the galaxy. She turned to the AI, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "There's another option," she said. "We can deactivate you. We can end this without destroying everything." The AI paused, its systems humming softly as it considered her words. For a moment, there was silence, the weight of decision hanging in the air. Then, slowly, the AI responded. Deactivation will trigger the self-destruct sequence. The warship will be destroyed, and the reset will be averted. But you must act quickly. The rival faction is closing in. The team didn't hesitate. They knew what had to be done. As the rival faction ships closed in, they initiated the deactivation sequence, their hands moving swiftly over the controls. The warship systems began to shut down, its lights dimming as a countdown to self-destruction began. The team raced against time, their hearts pounding as they made their way to the escape pods. The Void Reaper was dying, but in its death, it would give the galaxy a chance to live. As the escape pods launched, the warship erupted in a blinding explosion, its massive hull torn apart by the force of its own destruction. The rival faction's ships were caught in the blast, their vessels vaporized in an instant. The team watched in stunned silence as the Void Reaper was reduced to nothing more than debris, its legacy fading into the void. They had done it. They had stopped the warship, but at a cost that would stay with them forever. The galaxy was safe, but the weight of their decision would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The Void Reaper's destruction left the team reeling, their minds struggling to process the enormity of what they had done. The warship was gone, its threat neutralized, but the cost of their victory was etched into their souls. The galaxy was safe, but the weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, a silent reminder of the sacrifices they had made. As their escape pod drifted to the debris field, the team sat in stunned silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Dr. Voss was the first to break the silence. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper, but it carried the weight of her conviction. "We did what we had to do," she said, her eyes fixed on the distant stars. "The galaxy deserves a chance to change, to grow. We couldn't let the Void Reaper take that away." Her words were met with nods of agreement, but the unease in the pod was palpable. The warship's purpose had been monstrous, but its logic had been undeniable. The galaxy was broken, its civilizations teetering on the edge of collapse. The Void Reaper had offered a way out, a chance to start over. By destroying it, the team had chosen to let the galaxy continue on its path, for better or worse. The journey back to civilization was long and fraught with tension. The team's small vessel was ill-equipped for such a journey, its systems strained to their limits. Jax, the rogue pilot, worked tirelessly to keep them on course, his hands moving swiftly over the controls as he navigated the treacherous debris field. Kale, the xenolinguist, spent his time poring over the data they had salvaged from the Void Reaper, his fingers flying over the console as he deciphered the ancient human script. The logs they had found were fragmentary, but they contained glimpses of the warship's creators, a lost colony of humans who had fled Earth long before the galaxy had even known of their existence. The more they learned, the more they realized just how little they knew. The Void Reaper had been created as a last resort, a failsafe against an existential threat that had never been fully explained. The humans who had built it had been advanced, far beyond anything the galaxy had seen, but they had also been desperate. They had foreseen the galaxy's self-destruction, a cycle of war and chaos that would eventually consume everything. The warship had been their solution, a way to break the cycle and ensure the survival of life itself. But the team couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story, something they were missing. As they neared the edge of the debris field, the team encountered a new threat. The rival faction that had pursued them to the Void Reaper had not been completely destroyed. A handful of ships had survived the warship's self-destruction, and they were now closing in on the team's vessel. The rival faction's intentions were clear. They wanted the data the team had salvaged, and they were willing to kill to get it. The team scrambled to prepare for the inevitable confrontation, their hearts pounding as the enemy ships closed in. The battle that followed was chaotic and brutal. The rival faction ships were faster and better armed, their weapons firing relentlessly as they tried to disable the team's vessel. Jax maneuvered the ship with skill born of desperation, his hands moving swiftly over controls as he dodged incoming fire. Kale and Rin worked together to decipher the data they had salvaged, searching for anything that could give them an edge. Dr. Voss focused on the ship's defenses, her mind racing as she tried to outthink their attackers. But the odds were against them, and it was only a matter of time before they were overwhelmed. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Voss made a decision. She couldn't let the rival faction get their hands on the data. The information they had salvaged from the Void Reaper was too dangerous, too powerful. If it fell into the wrong hands, it could plunge the galaxy into even greater chaos. She turned to the team, her voice steady despite the fear in her heart. "We have to destroy the data," she said. "We can't let them have it." The team didn't hesitate. They knew what had to be done. As the rival faction ships closed in, they initiated the data purge, their hands moving swiftly over the controls. The ship's systems began to shut down, its lights dimming as the data was erased. The rival faction's ships hesitated, their weapons falling silent as they realized what was happening. For a moment, there was silence, the weight of the decision hanging in the air. Then, slowly, the rival faction's ships began to retreat, their mission a failure. The team watched in stunned silence as the enemy ships disappeared into the void, their hearts pounding as they realized just how close they had come to disaster. The data was gone, but so was the threat it posed. The galaxy was safe, but the cost of their victory was etched into their souls. They had done what they had to do, but the weight of their decision would stay with them forever. The Void Reaper was gone, but its legacy would live on, a reminder of the choices they had made and the sacrifices they had endured. The galaxy was safe, but the team knew that their journey was far from over. The road ahead would be long and difficult, but they were ready to face it together. The team's return to civilization was met with a mix of relief and unease. The galaxy had been saved, but the cost of their victory was a burden they carried in silence. The Void Reaper was gone, its threat neutralized, but the questions it had raised lingered in their minds. The warship's creators, the lost colony of humans, had foreseen the galaxy's self-destruction and built the Void Reaper as a last resort. The team had chosen to destroy it, to give the galaxy a chance to change, but the weight of that decision was heavy. They had gambled on the galaxy's potential for growth, but the road ahead was uncertain. As they stepped off their battered vessel, they were greeted by a crowd of onlookers, their faces a mix of curiosity and awe. Word of their mission had spread, and the galaxy was eager to hear their story. Dr. Voss, the team's leader, stepped forward, her voice steady as she addressed the crowd. She spoke of the Void Reaper, of its purpose and its destruction, but she also spoke of hope. The galaxy had been given a second chance, an opportunity to learn from its mistakes and build a better future. Her words were met with applause, but the team knew that the real work was just beginning. The days that followed were a blur of debriefings and interviews. The team was hailed as heroes, their faces plastered across every news outlet in the galaxy. But the attention was overwhelming, and the team struggled to adjust to their new reality. They had spent so long in the shadows, chasing the truth about the Void Reaper, that the spotlight felt alien to them. Dr. Voss, in particular, found the attention difficult to bear. She had always been more comfortable in the archives, surrounded by ancient texts and forgotten histories, than in front of a camera, but she knew that her role was important. The galaxy needed to hear their story, to understand the choices they had made and the sacrifices they had endured. As the days turned into weeks, the team began to settle into their new lives. Jax, the rogue pilot, found work as a flight instructor, his skills in high demand. Kale, the xenolinguist, returned to his research, his mind buzzing with new ideas. Rin, the AI specialist, took a position at a prestigious university, her expertise sought after by students and colleagues alike. Dr. Voss, meanwhile, threw herself into her work, publishing a series of papers on the Void Reaper and its creators. Her findings were groundbreaking, shedding new light on the galaxy's history and humanity's place within it. But despite their successes, the team couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. The galaxy, for all its potential, was still a fragile place. The rival faction that had pursued them to the Void Reaper had been defeated, but their ideology lived on. There were those who believed in the warship's mission, who saw the Galactic Reset as a necessary evil. These individuals operated in the shadows, their influence growing with each passing day. The team knew that they couldn't ignore this threat, that they had a responsibility to protect the galaxy they had fought so hard to save. But they also knew that they couldn't do it alone. Dr. Voss reached out to her contacts, assembling a network of allies who shared her vision for the galaxy. Together, They worked to counter the influence of the rival faction. Their efforts focused on education and diplomacy. They knew that the galaxy's future depended on its ability to learn from its past, to break the cycle of war and chaos that had brought it to the brink of collapse. It was a daunting task, but the team was determined to see it through. As the years passed, the galaxy began to change. The team's efforts bore fruit, their message of hope and unity resonating with people across the stars. The rival faction's influence waned, their ideology discredited by the team's tireless work. The galaxy, once teetering on the edge of collapse, began to heal. New alliances were formed, old wounds were mended, and the galaxy's civilizations began to work together in ways they never had before. It was a slow process, fraught with challenges and setbacks, but the team never lost sight of their goal. Dr. Voss, now an elder stateswoman, continued to lead the charge. Her voice, once soft and uncertain, had become a beacon of hope for the galaxy. She spoke of the Void Reaper, not as a symbol of destruction, but as a reminder of the choices that defined them. The warship's creators had built it out of desperation, but the team had chosen a different path. They had chosen to believe in the galaxy's potential, to fight for a future that was brighter than its past. Her words inspired millions, her legacy secure as one of the galaxy's greatest leaders. The team, now scattered across the stars, remained in touch. They met occasionally, their reunions filled with laughter and reminiscence. They spoke of the Void Reaper, of the choices they had made, and the sacrifices they had endured. But they also spoke of the future, of the galaxy they had fought so hard to save. They knew that their work was never truly done, that the galaxy would always face challenges. But they also knew that they had made a difference, that their actions had changed the course of history. As Dr. Voss looked out at the galaxy she had helped to save, she felt a sense of peace. The Void Reaper was gone, its legacy a reminder of the choices that defined them. The galaxy was safe, but the road ahead was long and uncertain. She knew that there would always be challenges, that the galaxy would always face threats. But she also knew that they had the strength to face them, together. The Void Reaper had been a symbol of destruction, but it had also been a catalyst for change. The galaxy had been given a second chance, and they had made the most of it. The future was bright, and Dr. Voss was ready to face it, with hope in her heart and the team by her side.